Hello, everyone. Welcome to the BizDev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I'm your host, David Baxter, and I'm joined today, as always, by avian taxidermist Gary Voigt. How you going, man? How's it going?
Just stuffing birds.
Just stuffing birds. Yeah, there you go. All right. So today was a special day. We have our first ever guest. He is joining us all the way from, I don't even know where you're joining us from. Where are you from, Matthew?
I'm about 30, 40 minutes north of Chicago.
Nice. All right. So he's north of Chicago. I've been to Chicago once. It's a great time. We have Mathew Kerbis with us. He is the founder of a new startup called Subscription Attorney. And we're going to talk to him about that a little bit more in a bit. But first, we're going to nerd out about the metaverse because we don't talk about that enough, Gary.
I don't think they get enough press. No, we definitely need to boost up Zuck.
Matthew, so we have been talking off and on. I make fun of the metaverse as often as possible because I find it to be a huge exercise in hubris. But this week, we were all making fun of internally on our Slack the Zuck pictures that he posted about the metaverse recently. Did you see that? Where it looks like it's from a Switch or maybe a Wii from
like the first version of a Nintendo Mii.
It's really bad, right? And then he was like, oh, no, it's much better. And then he shows another picture, which makes him a little bit more modern.
He hired some Pixar artists on Fiverr real quick. He's like, make me look human-ish.
He's hard to look human even in human. So,
True.
But what are your thoughts just in general of the metaverse? Are you a fan? Are you on our side? What you think, Matthew?
You had me here as a lawyer guest doing something innovative in the legal profession, but you didn't know that you were getting someone who actually is an attorney who goes on a show called it's like a legal office hours thing on this app called Entra, and
Okay.
we talk like law and Web3, and so I could talk metaverse all day, pros and cons. I was also on a panel. It was like a virtual citizens panel for xrsafetyweek.org last year. This year, it's December. Last year was the first year. This year, they've upgraded their brand or changed their brand to metaversesafetywweek.org. But it's basically the same event. But it's like a nonprofit, or it's going to be a nonprofit, and they're trying to make sure people's privacy rights and other sort of rights are protected in the digital space, whether you call it the metaverse or whatever. So I am kind of in it. I'm not like a metaverse attorney yet. But there is business opportunity there without question. I get a lot of inbound for that.
Are we going to get sued by Zuck for anything we just said? Please say no.
I mean, first of all, no legal advice. You had a lawyer as your first guest. First disclaimer, no legal advice will be given, just information. It's all for educational and entertainment purposes. I mean, who knows, right? People ask me all the time, what can I put in this contract so I can't be sued? It's like, well, guess what? People could sue. Welcome to America.
Yeah.
So you could sue.
It's funny. I'm currently addicted to the show Suits, which makes me a lawyer, just like watching Grey's Anatomy makes me a doctor. And I am fascinated by, normally with court shows like Law and Order and all that, it's all about criminal stuff. And theirs is all about civil and business law. And they take all the 10 seconds of exciting law stuff and throw out the 10 months of prep that they had to do and do all the documents. And all that's gone, right? They just do that, sign this, and done. And so, but that's my experience as a lawyer is watching Suits. So that's what I bring to the table. When it comes to the metaverse, have you done? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Gary.
No, I was just going to say I would imagine the privacy rights in the metaverse is going to be a hot button topic for quite a while, especially as it gets started. But yeah, so I would assume being in that space has got to be kind of pioneering and also a little bit scary.
Yeah. So David, now I really want to know what your question is.
My question was, have you been involved with Web3 and stuff like that? Have you put on an Oculus yet and actually had a metaverse meeting where you're two avatars with no legs floating around together?
Yeah, I think the one that I was in didn't have any legs. Now that you mention it, but yeah, the panel that I mentioned that I was on actually took place in VR. So okay. So I got an Oculus for that actually.
And so you now? How was the experience? I don't own an Oculus at all, but how was it? Did you feel like was it better than the Zoom? Was it better than Obviously not better in person, but was it better than other kinds of conferencey stuff, or was it just cheesy?
Here the problem is with like the metaverse and how you define that, is different, right? Like Facebook is trying to capture that, that term metaverse, right?
Sure.
So, but the Facebook ecosystem, whether it's on the Oculus within their like Horizons platform, like that's like a lowercase m metaverse, right? Like the capital M metaverse. Like what we're doing right now is kind of part of that, right? It's like Web 2 metaverse. So
Fair.
like the capital M metaverse is just basically anything digital, playing online video games. Fortnite
Okay.
is like lowercase m metaverse too, right? So depending on what you're talking about, but anyway, like we were in a like Microsoft's version of like the Facebook Horizons, which is Altspace VR, which I'm pretty sure they acquired. We're on a BizDev, podcast here, so acquisitions and stuff,
Sure.
bring it back to business. So that's where that took place. I know there are a couple of law firms now that have like their like virtual shops set up in the metaverse. I think Altspace is where they're doing that. I think they're making it a little bit easier to do that right now. But like bringing it like it to answer your question though, it's the like being in that space. No, it's kind of cartoony, and this brings it back to the article that you're talking about. Is that first image, like, and there's a lot of back and forth on the development side of things of like how realistic do we want to design the metaverse? Like, because it like you do get a little disoriented the first time you wear it. If like I'm a lawyer, I read everything. I read the instructions to my Oculus.
First one ever.
Yeah, and I'm the first person to read it. But it says in there. Yeah, but there are disclaimers that say don't drive for the first 2 hours after you use this thing because it's similarly disorienting to being drunk. And so like if I'm having friends or family over and we're playing like Beat Saber or whatever, which is awesome, but that's like a different side of it.
Sure.
That's like the for pleasure side, not for business side of an Oculus. Like we make sure whoever's driving home like isn't playing it within a couple hours towards the end of the night, right? And it might only be 30 minutes, like I forget what the time frame is. Sure. Right? But we're careful about it, just like with drinking or whatever. So so you do have to like be worried about that because it's so immersive. So do you really want it to be photorealistic? Because you need a little bit of separation there because of how you're wearing it, and the level of immersion is your brain will confuse it potentially for reality. I mean, we can go down in a whole other rabbit hole of like Elon Musk, are we living in a simulation thing with that? But the cartoony, like I don't really necessarily totally like blame Zuckerberg's people because he didn't design it. I mean, he's hiring
Sure.
people to design it. I don't blame them making it look like a me, like from the Wii, because you need that level of separation. Now, it got so much backlash that's like, yeah, well, living in a Pixar world is going to be way better, right, if we could do that. But I will say, early on, my experience of like going on like YouTube on the Oculus and doing like the 360-degree experiences on YouTube where it's like 8K, and these are recorded with super high quality cameras underwater, like a sea turtle swimming up to you, like you kind of feel like if you reach out and touch it, it's going to be slimy. Like that's how immersive this is. It's really incredible, and it's hard to describe it beyond what I just did without actually getting in a headset and doing it.
Yeah,
So
that's
what
the kind of
I-
experience I'm looking forward to. Almost like the Ready Player One, like you're actually in there type. Everything's almost visceral except for, the actual feeling of the smell. But like that seems like a more interesting experience in a VR or an Oculus type of, environment. A little less South Park, a little bit more Ready Player One. It's probably where I'm going.
Well, so that to me is like the big shift. There's most people talk about two different metaverses. Some people it's Ready Player One. That's what they want. They want the metaverse in their mind is a place you can go that all of the IP is gone. And everybody, Mario stands next to Street Fighter, stands next to Master Chief, who stands next to Superman, right? And they're all able to converse and do their own thing, and that's the metaverse. That's what Ready Player One has said. And now they put on the whole suit and all of that, but that's what people get excited about. Versus I'm in an office with my footless avatar floating around, right? And I'm like, well, in that Ready Player One, I put a picture of this on my Slack for my team, and I was like, we're already here. Because there was a picture from Fortnite with Dragon Ball Z, Halo, Spider-Man, and Superman all standing together about to go fight. And that is 5-10 years ago, that would have been completely unheard of. And the fact that that exists, and then you can have a rapper, like a real life rapper. I'm trying to think of his name. He was just on it, did a big old thing.
Travis
I can't remember
Scott
his name.
did one.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, him and Ariana Grande. I mean,
He's not allowed to do in-person events anymore. Only Metaverse ones after what happened. After
it's
people
in his
died.
contract. So it's like you're in this weird space now where you can do all that, and they're just gonna keep going. I'm surprised that they're not so large now that Disney is like, no, we're not gonna let you do that with our IP. But they just had Star Wars, right? Everyone goes to Fortnite now. They're about to do Bungie, which I think. No, Halo's probably the first one.
I thought
Bungie's
it was
now gonna,
Destiny. Wasn't it?
Yeah,
Destiny
Bungie is the
were
owner
in
of Destiny.
Okay.
Destiny is Fortnite is going into Destiny, which is backwards. Like that's never happened. Fortnite's not been in other people, and now another company is. So it's not Destiny coming to Fortnite; it's the other way around. But it's really interesting, and so I got to say, I'm more excited about the Fortnite metaverse than I am Meta's metaverse or Facebook's metaverse, however you want to say that, because that's boring. I don't
both.
see.
You're
more
right.
of the entertainment
Like, you're-
side rather than the business side. It seems like.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the business side, I'm just not getting it. I cannot see why my floating avatar. I don't care how you make it look. I mean, if I'm a rhinoceros talking to, I can't have a serious conversation. I'm a rhino and you're a drag race car, right? That's in business. That's never going to work. It's always going to be avatar. So are we going to be pixelate or Pixar people, or are we going to be super hyper realistic? I don't know. But all I know is, how is that going to be better than Zoom? I don't, unless I'm physically with you, I don't see the difference. And I'm like, you're going to spend bazillions of dollars remaking a Zoom video room. And this is what I don't understand. I'm missing something there.
I'm with you on that part, right? But like there are, and because it's a lack of imagination. It's like, let's collaborate on this work project and then like teleport into, to Alpha Centauri, in the metaverse and like play some cool space games or like work on like a fictional space colony. Right. And like that, then we'll like to like let our brains like decompress and work in the background and then like go back to work. But don't make it look like an office. Like there are other ways that I think that Facebook is trying to like ease Meta, whatever, is trying to. I'm going to have a hard time calling it Meta.
For years, yes.
They're trying to ease people in with like, let's take what looks familiar. And I'm sure on their product development roadmap is like start with the office, move to like crazy, cool, collaborative environments instead of just starting there. I mean, I would start there, but there are other apps, and I forget what they're called. I've only played around with them a little bit because they're a subscription based service. Bringing it back to the subscription attorney.
Nice.
Got a plug here. Got a plug. Subscriptionattorney.com. But there is like a subscription I'm not subscribing to yet because I have a pretty good like IRL and real life setup going on. But like they have it where you could be like in an office and like you use like the wands, like the controllers to like do the outline of your actual real physical desk. So you have your keyboard and your mouse, and then you could put up like 20 screens, and you could have like 1,000 monitors, and they could all be like have different things on them. And so it's just like a virtual version of like 20, 30, 40 monitors. Like I'm not a trader, but you always see the traders with like all the monitors, the Bloomberg terminals and all that, right?
Sure.
Like I could see how that would be. Like I'll drop $300 on an Oculus too, and then I don't have to buy all these monitors.
I've seen that was actually something I was going to mention. The most useful example of metaverse that I have heard is you go to the coffee shop, you put on your Oculus or whatever magical glasses, and the ones I've heard in the example, they're AR glasses, so I can still see the real world. And in my glasses, I set 10 monitors or 5 monitors or whatever. And as a developer, we're all into monitors. And so we can work and I don't have to be limited to my little 15-inch laptop screen. I can have a 30-inch screen in front of me, and I can look around it, and I can talk to the barista or whatever. But the idea that is this magical place that, I mean, I've got a beefy laptop here. That you're not replacing that and putting 12 monitors that have real code and real work and Photoshop and things that require real computing power and power it by a phone, right? You're going to have a massive beast of a machine to do that. So I'm carrying around this huge backpack full of gear. I put it down so that I can look cool for a moment. I mean, it sounds cool, but we're so far from that. The reality is not there.
Well, it is not there for AR, but it is there for VR. 100%.
Well, but
I've done it.
I mean, I can't disagree because I haven't ever tried it, but I've got right now 3 monitors, quite large ones, in front of me, and it makes my laptop, which is a big gaming rig, right? Its fans go nuclear when I get busy.
Yeah.
And how do you, with an Oculus, which is a low-powered phone, basically, hardware-wise, you can't do what I'm doing on 10 monitors. The thing would melt. So I'm just curious what you're doing today. If I put on an Oculus and I'm saying, this is a monitor, this is a monitor, this is a monitor, what can I actually do?
That's a great
question. Because I'm going to melt it.
Yeah,
it's probably not worth it doing it mobile anytime soon. But I guess if you do have that set up at home in a VR experience, it's probably pretty interesting to go through.
Yeah, I mean, I think just like we have cell towers, not to give Meta any ideas, though I'm sure a lot of smart people work there. They probably have already thought of this. But just like we have cell towers, I mean, you're going to have like local infrastructure, and a Starlink and other competitors, take off. You're going to have just decentralized infrastructure that you're going to have to tap into. Like the future of AR that I'm looking forward to are the smart contact lenses. I think it's like Mojo something, MOJO. I can't remember what the company name is called, but like their CEO just put one lens in his eye. And but it's all supposed to be like remote computing power because you can't fit enough into the contact to do like real AR stuff, right? Sure. So like are you wearing a backpack? Is it gonna be your smartphone? Is it gonna be like decentralized infrastructure? So I am super. Yeah, I wonder how they're gonna solve that problem, because I have the same questions with the AR stuff, but I look forward to them solving it.
Sure. The next 5-10 years are going to be very interesting. I did, on that same note, and this is totally unrelated, Microsoft just released a beta version for developers that you can now log into a Windows PC remotely. And it's like gaming, right? You can play games now on your phone. That's like an Xbox, right? You don't have to have the power of the Xbox. It's just streaming the game. Now they're streaming a Windows machine to you, and you can do crazy, Photoshop or stuff that Gary does with his movies and animation stuff, or coding or whatever, and you don't have any hardware with you at all. And now I could see that, obviously way in the future, but I've got now 5 virtual desktops, and now those are my monitors. Maybe that's how that works. So, all right, Matthew, it's your turn. We're going to put you in the hot seat. So tell me, in 10 words or less, no, I'm just kidding. Tell me about your company. Tell me what you're up to, what you're trying to do differently than everybody else.
Lawyers are too effing expensive, right?
Fair.
I mean, most people can't afford to hire a lawyer. I know most lawyers, this is like an ongoing joke in the industry, but it's really not a joke. Most lawyers couldn't afford to hire themselves. That's because most lawyers bill by the hour. That is, unless you're like a personal injury attorney and you're taking a contingency. But even then, it's a lot for the client. It's a third, like that of what you're owed, And, there's a lot of reasons why they're allowed to take contingency. But if you're not hiring a personal injury attorney, to hire another attorney, whether you're a company or person, it's expensive. I mean, like, we're talking minimum $250 an hour. And that's a cheap attorney, right? So that's not obtainable for a lot of people.
Sure.
And so there's a lot of backstory that I'm just going to skip over. But essentially, I thought that was not fair. I saw a massive market opportunity, and I decided that I was going to try to become at least America's most affordable attorney. Because my subscriptions start at $20 a month. But not just $20 a month, $19.99 a month, because I'm communicating with consumers the way they're used to being talked to by companies, right? And so I'm trying to be the anti-law firm, and I want all my prices to be transparent, so you know exactly what you're getting in exchange for what you're paying before you actually hire me. And so right now, if you hire a lawyer, it's like ordering the fish at market price at a restaurant. But when you ask the server, what is it going to cost? They say, oh, we can tell you what it costs after you finish eating the fish.
Sure.
Right? I wouldn't order that fish. So why am I selling my legal services this way? So I left the law firm, and I started my own to do just that. And I built it more like a tech company than like a law firm.
So at a high level, I sign you up and I have you for $20 a month. Am I a person? Am I a company? Does it matter?
It doesn't matter. And the reason I have even the $20 is because it's only going to get you so much, right? Like what does it get you? It gets you access to my Calendly link that level that I have carved out certain times for that level of a subscriber, right? So for the $20 a month subscriber, you only get access to 2 hours of my calendar at the end of my day every day, right? And it's only in 15-minute increments because I'm not billing by my time. I have to control my time. Unless I'm like working on a deal and I see a call come in that I'm expecting, I generally don't pick up the phone because all of my calls can be scheduled ahead of time, whether it's for my clients, opposing counsel, prospective clients, what have you. One of the biggest buttons on the first page of my website is schedule a call. If you're not a client, you schedule a call. I make it really easy to get a hold of me when you're available, right? And some people, they're like, well, I just want to call. Well, you're probably not the right client for, I'm probably not the right attorney for you. You're not the right client for me, and that's okay. There are a lot of other attorneys out there, but in order for me to be able to charge the prices that I do, that's what I have to do. And that's real legal advice. I mean, you could schedule a time to talk with me. You can message me through the client portal, and I'll give you legal advice on whatever sorts of legal questions you have that I possibly can. If there's a really specialized type of question that I can't answer, then I'm going to let you know, and I'm going to refer you to a few attorneys and say, hey, here's an IP attorney who could help you file a trademark. I don't do that kind of thing, right? But I can answer some questions about intellectual property for my clients. Now, let's say that they want to have a real estate closing. Well, then it's going to be a flat fee, but that flat fee is on my website. Everyone could see it. My competition could see it. Potential clients could see it. So they know that they get access to that below market flat fee rate by being even just a $20 a month subscriber, right? And so that's a benefit that they're getting by signing up for $20 a month. They're getting real legal advice. But when I actually need to review a document, draft something for them, help them negotiate a real estate closing. I do some landlord-tenant related disputes without going to court. I should say I don't go to court at all. This is one of the ways I could offer affordable prices. Is I'm a virtual law firm and I'm not going to court. There's flat fees on top of that, but they're all below market flat fee rates because I want to create lifetime value with my clients. Like other subscription businesses want to create lifetime value, right? I want people to stay subscribed forever. But I also make it really easy to unsubscribe and resubscribe. Because sometimes if you're not using my legal services, I don't want you to keep paying me. I want you to, when you have issues in your life, but a lot of people do. They just don't know it, right? Why do billboard lawyers make a lot of money is because they're issue spotting for people. They're like, do you have lung cancer? Do you have this? Do you have that? Because people go throughout their day, non-lawyers, which is kind of like, I don't really like that term, but there's no other way to describe it. Like that's like a very factual way to describe it. Non-lawyers go through life and they haven't been trained, like I have, to spot legal issues. And so if I'm not helping people spot them, then they're having difficulties. But it doesn't make sense to pay someone $250 an hour to talk to them and see if you have any legal problems. But at $20 a month, something happens at work, something happens at home. I take my dog to the groomers and they want me to sign a one-page contract. Well, $20 a month, I'm going to message my lawyer about that, right? And so that's the idea. And businesses can dip their toes in the water with the $20 a month subscription, though for them it's probably better to dip their toes at the premier level at $100 a month and then get my access to my suite of flat fee services that I offer to businesses. But depending on the nature of your business, and I really see a huge market opportunity with freelancers. Everyone's leaving their job to start their own side hustle or start their own business or just be their own boss, which I am. I mean, I'm a solo practitioner, right? I'm a freelancer in a way. I'm a true solo. I leverage technology. I built out all these, the website and the client portal using no-code tools. And so the freelancers are it's $300 a month. I'm not going to negotiate things for you at that level, but for another $200 I will. So for $500 a month, I'll negotiate your 3 contracts a month that you get, right? But then, you don't have to just rely on a template and you don't know if you're actually going to be protected. And when you're a freelancer, your contracts, your relationships with your clients, that's your lifeblood. And every other lawyer that I know out there is unaffordable. So I'm trying to attack that market.
What we generally focus on is the business side of things and try to get an idea. So I get where you came from. I get the problem that you're trying to solve. How long have you been doing this?
Since March of this year.
Okay. It's brand new.
Yeah, 5 months. I think I'm almost in month 6. So it's pretty new, but I'm not the first subscription attorney. I'm just the first one doing it this way.
How did you identify the market viability, and did you do anything up front before you decided to dive in, just to kind of test the waters or talk to other subscription service, I guess you could say, businesses? Or you mentioned you're not the first one to do this, so are there other competitors, maybe not in your area, that do something similar, like a subscription retainer that you saw if there was viability in the market?
Yeah. So my journey began 2 years before actually launching my own subscription law firm, because I was going to launch a subscription business, like a subscription model within my last firm that I worked for. So, I mean, we're talking about like 2 years of research and talking to attorneys and reading books and like listening to Audible and, doing all the research that I can, right, to learn about it and develop the model. And it's just, at the end of the day, it's really hard to build a law practice within another law practice, like to build a business within a business when it's a small business. Like I didn't work for a giant law firm. Like our firm had like 20-something people that worked there, right? So it wasn't a giant one. Like, if you're Google, like that's why you launch X, right? So like you're building businesses within Google, but we are a small company, so it's hard to build a business within a business when it's not made for that. So I ultimately just decided to leave and do it on my own because I thought I had to truly be a true subscription, non-billable hour attorney in order to make the model succeed. And my other law firm just wanted to keep billing by the hour, and that's fine. We parted ways. The other attorneys who have been doing this have been using it in practice areas where it does, frankly, make a lot more sense from like a business standpoint. Like trademark attorneys is really where this started. And my podcast is called Law Subscribed. I mean, it's on all the apps. I mean, your audience might not be super interested. I just talked to lawyers who are building the subscription model, firms or technologists who are building for it. But I interview other attorneys who have all been doing it for the most part longer than me. Some of them are also new to the game, like myself too. And I started that podcast before I decided to launch my own business because I was just sort of part of my research. I'm already talking to these people. Let's make a podcast, right? So lawsubscribe.com too is where you could go to find that. And so, like in trademarks, there's ongoing brand protection that's required. And so it was sort of a no-brainer for some of these first innovative attorneys. This happened like 7-8 years ago now, where they were like, well, if they pay me X amount a month, and the lowest really I've seen is like $1,000 a month. So still kind of unobtainable for most people, but we're talking about a very niche practice, just trademarks, right? Like if you pay me like $1,000 a month, that includes unlimited cease and desist letters to send to people who are potentially infringing your mark. And that includes me like looking, for, searching for potential infringers and one trademark filing every month or something like that, right? I don't know. I'm just sort of making it up. But like they identified that this made a lot of sense. And trademark is federal law, so it could be practiced from anywhere. I'm only licensed in the state of Illinois. So I can only take on clients who are either transacting in or living in the state of Illinois. So like if I have somebody who has a startup in Illinois and they're operating out of here, but they want to be like a Delaware corp, right? Like I could like help them do that because they're operating out of Illinois. I have a Florida client who has some franchises he owns in the state of Illinois, so I could represent him at least with regard to those franchises, right? So like I'm limited, but there's so much market opportunity that I was profitable in week 3, right? So like because I'm offering prices that were to get legal advice, where hiring a lawyer was simply unobtainable by most of the market. Like we're talking most of the market.
So there already was like an established market there for you. It wasn't like taking a giant step into the unknown for you. You had an idea that this was going to be viable from the onset, or at least the model was going to work.
Attorneys have been launching their own solo practices for centuries.
Yeah.
I mean, really.
So how did you're a new business. You've been around for 5 months. The first year sucks of every new business. But you've been profitable pretty quickly, which is highly unusual, but that's probably the nature of the beast that you are fighting. But how did you go from you have an idea to I now have customers? How did you find them? Where did they come from? Like, I always talk about when you start a business, you have 2 phases. You have before you're awesome and once you're awesome, right? Before you're awesome, your only job is to get the word out, to get your name out there for people to give a crap, right? How did you do that? How did you get profitable in 3 months?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah. And first of all, by keeping my costs like super low, right? Then it's really like if I projected out my annual costs and I'd made more than that. My first year annual costs, I'd made more than that on week 3, right? So like that's what I mean by profitable. Profitable doesn't mean I have salary replacement income from working at like a law firm that's been around for 40 years. But I'm well on my way. I might get there in year 2, if not sooner, if things pick up, right? But certainly, like, I mean, because profitable doesn't necessarily mean rolling in it. Profitable
course.
means I've more than paid for my expenses, anticipated annual expenses. But one of the ways I was able to do that is, and I will actually talk to high school students and college kids who are thinking about law school, and I tell them this: you just got to be super nice to everyone you meet for your whole life, really, right? I mean, especially when you're in a business like legal, right? Because people need to hire you for whatever reason. And if they can't hire you, you could refer them, because we have certain ethical prohibitions on fee sharing outside of the legal profession. Like referrals back and forth among attorneys is actually huge for like generating revenue for your firm. So like if I'm able to refer people out and that firm makes money from it, it's not like required that they send me a referral fee, but if they want to keep getting business from me, they will.
Sure.
Right. And so really I teach likability and reliability. If you're just likable to everyone you meet, but you're also easily you have to easily like other people, right? It goes both ways. And if you're reliable to other people, meaning they know, they could count on you, but you could also then rely on other people. If you do that throughout your life, generally speaking, you're going to develop relationships really well. And especially in a business like law, relationships are everything when it comes to generating business. People hire you because they like you. I mean, they also hire me because I'm like the most affordable attorney in town, right? Or at least in the state. And that's part of it. I'm competing on price. That's where I've chosen to compete. And the reason I could do that is because I leverage technology like up the wazoo. Automation and I lean into automation as much as I possibly can. I welcome my AI overlords. When I have like natural language AI, I could ask a legal query to, and it could spit out a bunch of legalese to me, and then I could translate that for the client. That would make my job even easier. Then I actually have to go on and manually search using legal research tools. But it's all about just building relationships and letting people know. So really, I've been practicing law for 8 years. Right, but I've been building relationships my whole life. And when I hung my own shingle, as we say in the business, when I started my own law practice, I let everyone I know that I've started my own law practice, and I've gotten business from friends of friends, right, and friends of friends of friends, right. So 2 degrees removed, 3 degrees removed, who they needed a lawyer, and they found out through the grapevine, oh well, Kerbis just launched his practice, and he's really great. And it actually looks like a pretty awesome model that I've never heard of before. And it's really easy to schedule time to talk to him. And so I've gotten clients from through high school friends, through elementary school friends that I've just maintained a relationship with, who have sent me business.
So just to be clear, I'm circling back a bit. When you say you're profitable, that is not including your own salary, correct?
I have not decided what I'm paying myself for a salary yet. That is correct.
That's fair.
I'm only 5 months in. I got to figure out, But since I'm building a SaaS model, with a year's worth of data, I think I'll be able to identify what my salary should be. But yes, that is an important distinction, David. I'm glad you brought that up.
So, I mean, that's pretty normal. I mean, you're still living on your own runway, is what it sounds like.
No, because I have a spouse who is also has a really good job.
Sure.
But I am making enough to pay for my kids' daycare and pay for the mortgage, and I'm giving myself a very meager salary right now, just enough to sort of pay for the basics. I've not had to go into my runway what we saved up just in case I wasn't making anything at all. So that's been great.
That's very cool. Very cool. So you mentioned technology. Obviously, I'm a developer and I nerd out really easy. So how did you build this? You mentioned no code, low code kind of stuff. So what is your technology stack and how did you get it built?
So I demoed 100 plus different softwares of all different sorts of things, right? So when it came to scheduling, HubSpot, Acuity, Calendly, I tried out all these different technologies, and I was using a lot of them in volunteer leadership that I do. So through the American Bar Association, and I'm on some nonprofit boards and things like that, right? So I was testing these tools in the real world as much as I can when they came to non-legal technology before deciding which ones I wanted to use for my business. And then there's actually been a lot of venture capital flowing into legal tech very recently. So there's been all these new legal tech companies that are we're just building technology just for lawyers to use in their practice. Many of them are having a hard time finding a footing because they increase efficiency, which billable hour attorneys don't want to do.
Sure.
Right? But I've been having a field day with them. There's like, it's still early on. Like there's machine learning AI that helps analyze contracts. And so instead of me needing to spend 20 hours analyzing an M&A deal, like I could throw it into the legal AI. It could spit out a bunch of problem clauses. We could start there, and then I can, make my way through the contract, at a more reasonable pace, right? And so like there's tools like that. There's document automation where I could either get pre-made legal documents that have built-in automation. So like I have access to one of those tools, and then there's another tool where I could go in and I could build out the automations that I want in different Word documents. But it all takes time. It took many weekends. I built my website using Card with 2Rs.co. I actually have several websites through Card. One of them, Law in the Metaverse. I haven't decided if that's going to be a podcast or a blog or something to bring it back after my law practice is a little bit more fully developed. Right, I have a bunch of websites through Card.co. I love it, and because I'm the anti-law firm, I don't need a WordSpace website because I'm not competing in that space for like SEO, because what subscription attorney is a very descriptive business name, right? What am I going to compete on in terms of like SEO or paid search with other law firms? I will never be able to compete, and so that's why like my business development strategies have been much more targeted based on my own network, based on like the Nextdoor app. I've actually gotten business from Nextdoor, from like pay per clicks on Nextdoor, which has been great. Mm-hmm. And so I built that out. I've had a lot of fun building websites on Card. It was originally made for one-page websites, but you could sort of make it look like it's a multi-page website. But when you're building it, it's all just one page. It's actually really great. I highly recommend people check that out. I probably have like an affiliate link where I get money and you get money, but I don't know what that is.
What are you using in the managing the subscriptions and getting that going through?
Yeah, that's a combination. It's a great question. That's a combination of Stripe and SweetDash. SweetDash is the client portal software that I chose to go with. I think I got around like 20 something client portals that I demoed. I mean, I demoed Zendesk. I demoed a lot of non-legal tech, because the legal tech solutions were all really built around the billable hour and like tracking your time. And I'm not doing that. Like there are two solutions out there that are turnkey solutions for the subscription model. One of them, the co-founder is one of the first subscription attorneys. She was the first guest I had on my podcast. But the way that they've envisioned the subscription model is just different than I've envisioned it. I mean, I'm like tackling access to justice, like access to legal advice that was previously unaffordable. And the way that they've built out their platform just doesn't work for that. And that's fine. It's going to work for a lot of other attorneys. It's just not going to work for me. So I ended up with SweetDash, which is actually used by like small medical practices because it's HIPAA compliant in terms of security. And so when I saw that, I was like, okay, this is going to work for me because I'm an attorney. We have to maintain confidentiality, with our clients. And so I realized, okay, I can make this work. It just required a little bit of no code tools on the back end. They had a lot of templates that I was able to customize without actually having to code. You could code if you want to, but I don't know how to code. And so I was able to build out a minimum viable client portal, and was able to launch with that. And I've been making little improvements. I have in my time block scheduling that I use. I make sure to at least get in once a week, an hour into making the client portal a little bit better.
Nice. So you've done it all in-house, haven't brought any contractors of any sort or outside or buddies, friends, family helping you with the technology. It's all been you.
It's all been me. Even my podcast, I do all the editing. I do the music because I'm a little musical, and so I'm able to do it all. Now, am I the best at it? Absolutely not. But I'm good enough to get started and launch a business and reach profitability. Not like paying myself my old salary profitability, like we've pointed out, but eventually I plan to outsource as much as I can, especially as a true solopreneur. Like I don't want to have to do anything more than I absolutely need to in the future. If I could just do the legal services part, that would be great. But I have to get to a point where I could afford to do that, and because I have clients on a subscription, and if I have low churn, and if I could better project based on a year's worth of data what I can anticipate making, then I could find the right providers to outsource everything. So that is part of my product roadmap, is outsource as much as I can, but not make it so complex that I couldn't come in and fix something if I had to.
Gotcha. So last question. I know we're running out of time, but last question is, if you jump ahead 5-10 years. Where are you? Are you still doing this on your own, Chicago-based or Illinois-based law, which it's you've outsourced as much as you can, but you're still the crux? Or do you now lead a fleet of 50 virtual lawyers, one for every state, and you're just managing this, and now you're the CEO of a large company? Where do you see, or somewhere in the middle, where do you see your growth? Is do you lean one way or the other?
I am in some talks with an AI startup that I'm really hoping would make my job a lot easier. I know I joked before, but like I'm actually like talking to like some people who like built their own version of GPT-3 or whatever. And if I could get that, especially in like the next 5 to 10 years, like I will remain a true solo for sure, because I'll be able to do my job really easily. And I might hire freelance lawyers. So like freelance lawyers like are a thing. There are platforms that are dedicated to that. And so if I could stay like, if this could be like a sustainable lifestyle business, you know, to use like some indie hacker jargon, I would just love that. Right? That would be like a sweet spot. I don't need to be the CEO of a big giant firm, multimillionaire. Like if I could make really high 6 figures, it's cool with me. Right? I don't need to be a boss and manage a bunch of people. But that being said, that's why I have the podcast. I'm still trying to change the profession. I'm still trying to show other lawyers that they could do it too, and to teach potential clients of lawyers, wherever they are, which is one of the reasons why I even reached out to be on your show, that they should demand transparent pricing and affordable pricing and efficient technology use from their lawyers, and tell their lawyers to go listen to the podcast Law Subscribed, and where I'm trying to build a community of innovative thinkers who are doing this, because right now it's just me and a few other people. But I think if we could get enough lawyers on board, we could change the profession. And once my law firm is more on autopilot without the actual, because I still have to talk to people and answer people's legal questions, right? But when everything else is truly on autopilot, I could focus a little bit more on help consult other law firms launch their own subscription practices. I've already had a lot of lawyers reach out to me. I simply don't have time to do that now because I'm still in the process of building my own practice. But I'd rather maybe make a little extra money helping other law firms do it this way. And because a lot of young lawyers are drowning in 6 figures of student loan debt. And if I can, encourage them to launch an innovative law practice where, they're not going to be making, $200K right away, but over time, building their practice up and developing business, they'll be able to at least live a comfortable lifestyle and help more people than they ever would have working at a big law firm just representing corporate interests, right? Which is what a lot of lawyers go to law school wanting to do. And so I'll have made a difference that way. The goal is not necessarily become the next biggest law firm, but 20 years, 30 years, 40 years from now, if a big giant law firm wants to buy my law firm, hell yeah, I'm gonna sell it to them. And by then I'll have built a really good brand that's not around my name. It's Subscription Attorney, right? That's why my law firm isn't Mathew Kerbis LLC, legal services. I'm building a brand. So eventually one day I do want to sell the firm for sure.
Very cool. Well, all right. I appreciate it. You have been wonderful, and I have learned a lot. I know you got to get soon. So where can people reach you if they want to see your podcast and social stuff and emails and all that stuff? Where can they reach you?
Yeah, all the goodies in the show notes, I'm sure. But LinkedIn is probably the easiest way to find me and connect. The DMs are open even for people who are not connected, but feel free to reach out and connect with me. Mathew with 1T Kerbis on LinkedIn. If you search the Subscription Attorney, I should also be the first one that shows up. Otherwise, subscriptionattorney.com and lawsubscribe.com.
Awesome. You got any wise words for us, Gary?
I'm just impressed with the amount of actual... It seems like human care that went into your thought process here and building the business, not necessarily just to, get rich quick or do anything like that, but showing that you did have a passion for something. You followed that. You pushed through what you knew was going to be a decent market, but seemed to have really kind of struck gold right away. And I'm interested to see where it's going and where the subscription-based model for attorneys is going, because I like the idea that it's a cheaper way for people who, like you said, can't afford it, kind of keep a law firm on retainer in a way. For one of the ideas I had was a branding agency or a designer that does a lot of branding and logo work, like just having that like trademark law in your back pocket for your clients that's a pretty good perk and a feature, something you can offer them as well. So I like the idea and I like how it's going. I'm impressed, man. Good for you.
Thank you so much. Hey, if someone had a question, Gary, what would they do?
They could email us at hello@thebigpixel.net, or they can go to any of our social media channels or YouTube page, leave a comment, post a question, whatever you want.